decision making in a democratic environment. The second one was credible neutrality, and the third one was censorship resistance. And so I felt like if Gitcoin was a Web 2 platform in a Web 3 ecosystem, it would never have that sort of like democratic decision making that comes along with DAOs, and then it would never come along with credible fairness. I would never be able to like prove that Kevin Owocki's not in the back, like switching dials for his favorite projects. And hopefully it's not that much of a concern with me, but whoever inherits the project after me, after I'm no longer CEO. And so we felt pretty squarely that after $50 million worth of impact, that Gitcoin had to become a DAO, and then it had to be governed by the community that it served. So basically, the consent of the governed is the only basis of legitimacy for the use of state power. And I kind of felt like in Web 2 startups in the past, I'd always been pulled between my users and my investors. And the best way to solve that with the context of Gitcoin was just to make the users into the governors of Gitcoin. So that's why we decided to decentralize Gitcoin and make it into a DAO. And I think that it's definitely hard to, as you said, let your baby go and go off into college and have its own life and everything like that. But I always think about the why whenever it's hard to think about the what and the how, because I just think the why, you start with why with your decision making. And so Gitcoin now is a suite of protocols that do quadratic funding in the Web3 ecosystem, and so I'm pretty proud of the progress that it's made becoming a DAO. It's it's taken 24 months since the launch of the DAO for the protocols to actually get out and to be the foundation of the beta round, but it's just really cool to see that it's actually happening. So yeah, let me know if there's anything I missed there, but that's what comes to mind.
Yeah, no, that was great. Yeah, also like kudos to you with Gitcoin and just like I think that in general, if you allow me to say this, is that Gitcoin has been amazing at sort of like cultural memeing or like getting ideas out there. You in particular are very good at that with your podcast and the green pill meme and all of that. And I was wondering if you could share like your mental models for like how you communicate these things to others, because I'd say you're a professional. You're one of the best in the space at that, so would love to hear
Sure.
your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that there's one weird trick. I just like read a lot and consume a lot of information about the space and try to go broad in the knowledge that I'm capturing. And then when I put two and two together and it looks like it might be four, I just tweet about it. And there's no like one weird trick. I mean, I guess for me, maybe the trick is not being afraid of looking foolish in public. Like I tweet an idea, and I just sort of expect that 60% of them are going to be crap, but the 40% that I put out there and that people glob onto, there's such a there's such a benefit to networked thinking, to not just like building in public, but like building with the public. And it's been really cool to kind of like synthesize ideas and put them out there and get really quick validation of oh, this is a good idea, and hey, I built a prototype, or Kevin, this is a stupid idea, just use X instead. And so just that sort of like dance of not just building in public but building with the public is kind of what I've really fallen in love with in this ecosystem. But yeah, I mean, I think just like Gitcoin is like, my first project in the space, and I've since disaffiliated from leadership in order to make room for other leaders there. But now there's this green pill thing, which we gave to the community as a headless brand, and it's now a podcast on Bankless with like, you know, 10, I think it's like 5,000 subscribers or something like that. And so just like shelling point that pushes the frontiers of what regen crypto economics is, like creating that category and defining what it is, and creating spaces where people can meet each other and build relationships within that space has kind of been the strategy. But yeah, I don't think there's like any one secret to it. It's just kind of like falling in love with the problem space and then spending most of my waking hours on it, which is I guess a feature at work, but sometimes over dinner, my wife's like, "Hey, Kevin, come back with us." I was like, "So sorry, I was thinking about regen stuff." But yeah, I just love the space. I guess is the answer.
Yeah, I can empathize with that feeling of just like being totally like DAOs are it's a like full contact sport, or like the
Hmm.
I think all of the Ethereum space. So like it's just so easy to just be so fully steeped in it that you never really exit work, because it's like constantly online and
Hmm.
you're getting notifications, and yeah, so I empathize with that. So I guess on the topic of DeSci, um, I wanted to get your thoughts on what DeSci means to you, and why are I feel like Bitcoin really started a lot of the DeSci movement through their grants program. I mean, DeSci existed before it too, but I really think you guys helped breathe life into it. So yeah, I'd really love to hear from you what DeSci means to you, and yeah, what do you see for the future of DeSci?
Yeah. Well, what's the law that any organization's products will follow the organizational structure? Oh, Conway's law, the adage that organizational design systems mirror their communication structure. So, I kind of feel like there's an adjacent law to that, which is that things that get funded are the things that are actually going to get done within an organization. Or if we're in a post-organizational world, the stuff in a network that gets funded is going to be what actually gets done. And so, I believe that the way that science is currently funded is with grants and traditionally from the government. Or well, I'm not sure if that's true in all branches of science, but my old man is a scientist, and he's always like applying to grants from NASA and stuff like that. And so I think that my mental model is that decentralized science is creating a new peer-to-peer way to validate the work that's being done and get it funded. And so, creating new, more peer-to-peer mutualistic structures for figuring out what work can be funded that bypasses the old bureaucracies associated with academia and government. And the huge upside there is that you can have faster OODA loops, and you can have like faster, I hesitate to use the word peer review, but like in a way, when you're asking a peer to fund your project, that is like a peer review in a different kind of way than the academic sense. But yeah, science is how we push humanity forward, and if we can find a more efficient network-based way to fund science, that feels like a very huge moment for humanity. And so I'm really excited about decentralized science, and it's one of the rounds that I always contribute to on Gitcoin. So yeah, that's my limited thinking on it, but I'd be curious for any other feedback of how I should be thinking about decentralized science. I think that mine is like my view of decentralized science is maybe informed by my dad being a scientist at like an academic institution. Whereas, there's probably more information you could have from actually doing a project on the ground, a decentralized science, like actually working in that world. So I feel quite disconnected from the people who are actually doing decentralized science, and I just have access to all these like 60-year-old physicists because of my dad. So, but yeah, decentralized science is cool. So I'm curious to see what comes out of this round.
Yeah, totally. That's super interesting to hear that connection that you have through your dad. Is your dad work in space sciences, or
Yeah, he's an
like more?
astrophysicist. He studies massive stars,
Oh,
the theory of massive stars, stellar winds and stuff.
you you should tell him to join Moondao. That would be incredible.
Yeah,
Um,
I should. His colleagues were asking me if we could use NFTs to fund science like 2 years ago, but crypto's not hot anymore. So I'll be curious to see if it ever comes back for. If I ever start hearing from it about it from his colleagues, then I'll know that like it's truly crossed into the mainstream.
yeah, well, I think it's starting to get there. So at East Denver, there are a few D-side tracks, and we had some more like traditional science people, and I feel like usually the conversation was all about, okay, well, is crypto a scam? Is that's sort of the skepticism that some of that people had flicking from the outside in. But now it's like the conversation has evolved past that point. I feel like people are starting to see use cases of crypto that go beyond sort of like speculation, and they're starting to kind of wrap their heads around it. And um, like I used to work in academia, and I think at first, what my old PI would tell me is stuff like, are you sure you want to be doing this? Like, is this like this just seems like like a scam more than anything. But now she's like sending me grants and going like, do you think that this could get funded through DeSci? So I feel like the conversation is really shifting, which
Yeah.
is I think we're getting to. I mean, I don't want to like overhype or anything, but it seems like there's a little bit of an inflection point happening where some of these people from academia are starting to go, okay, well, I recognize aspects of this. You kind of map the peer review process over to a new process, and I think a lot of them get behind the idea of like composability and open sourcing your data, and a lot of them don't like that a lot of their research is in these uh, uh, like closed source things like that like they want their message to get out there, they want their science to get out there. So if they can get grants that allow them to do that, I think that they're happy to do it. So I think we'll get there. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that conversation evolves. I mean, I think that there are some crypto projects that are scams, and just acknowledging that, but also acknowledging that there are plenty of them that are doing actually innovative stuff. And just like you don't throw out the internet because of one bad website or a couple bad websites, you don't throw out all of crypto because there are projects that are not good. So it's a diverse, decentralized ecosystem, and you can't overgeneralize it, I don't think.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like any great technology has dual use. Like it can be used for good or bad, and its goodness can also be measured in its potential for harm sometimes. So yeah, I think crypto is like that sometimes.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'd like to also I've got a few questions here from the community, and they're more space focused, but kind of like with a regen twist. So a question that I have here from Ryan in our community is, how can we ensure that off-planet activities have direct returns to tangible benefits to people here on Earth, especially in the light of criticism leveled on the billionaires space race? So I think that this is something that space in general, people go, okay, well, I'm focused on Earth. I want to help Earth, and anything related to space is a diversion. It's like it's resources that could be put towards the climate on Earth, and it doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, I'd like to hear your take on that, and
Hmm.
yeah, hear your thoughts. Like,
Yeah.
where do you see space kind of fitting into DeSci and sort of regen-ness in general?
Hmm. Yeah. Um, well, I do think that I just remember coming up as a kid and watching Carl Sagan and being absolutely mesmerized by the perspective that space provides. That we're just this pale blue dot in an ocean um, of darkness, and in a universe that's more massive than we can actually comprehend. So the first thing that comes to mind for me is the perspective of knowing our place in the universe and where the Earth came from, and where humanity came from. And there's a lot of embedded questions in there, which is, where is it going, and where is are there other beings out there, or intelligent beings out there, and is humanity's futures going among the stars, or is it staying here on Earth? I think that there's a lot of like really consequential implications for humanity that you just will never get to if you never explore. And so it's going to be one of those things where science is either funded and we understand our place in the universe, and that may come with consequences and opportunities and threats, and how prepared for those things do we want to be, is sort of like the consequentialist take there. But I think there's also a argument to be made that space exploration is not just a means to other ends, but it's an end in itself. And yeah, I don't know. That's my sort of rumination on it. I think that it doesn't really matter what I think, though, because, again, Gitcoin is a channel for greater combinations of strength and intelligence to come together. And if the people who are funding decentralized science, if they decide to fund climate science here on Earth, then Gitcoin will fund that. And if they decide to fund space exploration in DeSci, then so it's really up to the community. It doesn't matter what I think. But I guess that's where I place space exploration and space research in my mind. But again, it's up to the community. And then and let's also acknowledge that DeSci is like one one thousandth of the funding that goes through academia and through governments for space research. And so really it's up to those institutions to figure out where it places on the national priority list and their funding list. But at least with Gitcoin, the community gets to decide.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's the superpower of it all, is that, yeah, it's that collective intelligence behind it. I have a question here from Rod too. So his question is just kind of generally, how do we slay Moloch? So
Mhm.
Moloch has been a recurring theme, recurring meme, even in the early DAOs. I guess maybe could you give us your definition of what Moloch is, and then also what, I guess,
Yeah.
yeah, how do you think we can slay him?
So this idea was popularized by Slate Star Codex, Scott Alexander, who's this blogger, in 2014. He wrote this piece called Meditations on Moloch, and it's sort of this rationalist exploration of the idea of coordination failure. And coordination failure is anytime you have n number of humans that want to reach outcome X, but they can't because they can't coordinate, that's a coordination failure. So if you have a bunch of people who are living around a pond, or a lake, and they all realize that they can make more money by overfishing the pond, and they start to overfish the pond, and you see your neighbors overfishing a pond, and so you overfish the pond, and so everyone starts overfishing the pond, and then all of a sudden, in a couple of years, no one has any fish left. That's a coordination failure. If you decide to go across the world to a conference, because you get economic gain from being at that conference, but you can externalize harm to the environment by polluting with carbon, and everyone else decides to do that. Everyone has individual actor on Earth has economic gain to be had by externalizing harm to anyone else, and that results in the planet heating up to the point in which we have increasing natural disasters and refugee crises and food shortages, and eventually the planet's not livable. That's a coordination failure. So the rationalist explanation is that you have a multipolar trap in which the incentive system is not stable. It's an unstable attractor because you're externalizing harm in order for each agent is advancing their own agenda by externalizing harm. That's a coordination failure. Okay, so that's the rationalist explanation of coordination failures. Um, the idea of Moloch is saying, hey, like, what's the difference between a rationalist coordination failure in which we're like destroying the planet or destroying our environment and destroying something else that we care about, destroying the substrate upon which we exist? What's the difference between that and just like a demon god that's sort of attacking humanity? And so the idea is to think of community coordination failure not in this rationalist economics game theory kind of way, but to like put it into, I would say, almost like a Marvel Avengers style bad guy kind of frame. Is like, this is basically a demon god that's going to cause humanity to destroy itself. And so Meditations on Moloch is all about Moloch's malign influence on humanity. And what if we could solve multipolar traps? Then we could slay Moloch. And if you can solve for coordination writ large, then there's just a ton of problems in the world that are basically coordination failures when you boil down to them. So that's my explanation of coordination failure and how it got turned into Moloch. I think the Moloch frame is just nice because, like, I don't know, what's the TAM of Marvel Avengers? It's probably like in the hundreds of billions at this point, and the TAM of rationalist nerds talking about game theory is probably like just us. So it's an interesting reframe on the idea of coordination failure. Um, yeah, that's as far as I can go in one little monologue. Did you ask me how to slay Moloch, or did you just ask me what Moloch was? I can't remember.
Yeah, yeah. Also, how do you slay it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I guess like um, that's still something that that people are trying to figure out. But basically, the idea is that if you have a coordination failure, then if you can increase coordination among the participants, then ideally you can start to solve the multipolar trap problem. So basically, like let's use the overfishing example. If we have a credibly neutral substrate through which I can see that my neighbor is starting to overfish the pond, and we can mutualistically apply sanctions to them, then that creates a disincentive for any agent to overfish the pond. And so basically, like if you can increase the transparency and the incorruptibility of the communication between the agents, e.g., they can coordinate better, then in theory you can start to solve the multipolar trap problem where people have an incentive to defect and cause harm by externalizing it to the whole. So part of the idea with blockchains in Web3 is what if we could get a lot of the financial infrastructure to be transparent and to be uncorruptible? We could sort of see what each other is doing. And maybe there's some sort of privacy layer in there where you do a zero knowledge proof to prove that you're not externalizing harm to the commons instead of showing all your economic activity to everyone, everywhere all at once. But yeah, coordination is how you solve coordination failure is my like most reductionist answer that I could come up with. And then also creating incentives for people to not only not defect and harm the commons, but also to fund the commons. So basically, that's kind of what Gitcoin and quadratic funding is. That's what retroactive public goods funding is giving people an incentive to give back to the commons. And specifically, the commons is a very broad umbrella, right? And so you have to figure out not only where does the money come from in order to replenish the commons, but also which projects within the commons actually are worth funding. And that's one of the magic things about quadratic funding is that there's 700,000 data points every quarter on Gitcoin, or at least there was when I was involved with it. Was 700,000 data points about what people actually care about within the Ethereum community, which is a level of market intelligence that I don't think that like a government bureaucrat would have when they're funding the commons. And so not only funding the commons, but creating a signal about what causes within the commons people actually care about and subsidizing it that way. So yeah, if I was to sum up my little monologue there, it'd be stop people from defecting and help them coordinate, and specifically help them coordinate around funding and supporting the commons.
Yeah, super well said. Yeah, I guess it's like what. Sorry, I'm asking you to define a lot of terms here, but in your mind, what is a commons? Is it anything that two people share? Is it anything that a community owns and governs together?
Yeah.
And yeah, what I guess yeah, could you define that term for us?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the layman answer is it's the cultural and natural resources accessible to all members of a society. The economics definition is something that's non-excludable, which means that I can exclude you from it, and non-rivalrous, which means that you consuming it doesn't stop me from consuming it. And so, like clean air is kind of an example of that. Like I can't stop you from breathing clean air, and the fact that I'm consuming it doesn't in any practical effect stop anyone else from consuming it. So non-rivalrous, non-excludable goods is traditionally, I think, how the commons are defined.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think cyberspace is a great commons in that it is also extendable in like a million different dimensions. So that if people are sort of in like in disagreement, or if there is some negative externality that's happening because of some community somewhere, there's always the ability to kind of just leave and go to a different community. um, I guess I'm wondering too, is you think that that Moloch is something that occurs because of um, scarce resources or scarcity and the inability to go to a to fork and leave a community and do something else, or do you think that yeah, I guess I'm curious, in cyberspace or the space that we inhabit now, do you think that we will really be able to overcome Moloch entirely, or do you think that it's just this mortal sin that we'll carry with us everywhere we go? Do you think that it's really overcomeable? I guess.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if I would call it like a mortal sin, but I would say that I think that coordination failure is there's something that's very deep in like the fabric of agentic behavior in the universe that causes coordination failure, and I don't think that we'll ever be able to fully solve it writ large. But that doesn't mean that we can't beat it back. So, like for example, like cancer, I think is coordination failure, right? You've got a cell that decides that it wants to consume all the resources and keep reproducing itself, and over time, those cells metastasize and they go across your entire body. So, at if we have coordination failure at the cellular level and we've got it, at like the everyday civilizational level, then I think that there's something pretty deep and fundamental in life, or at least life on Earth, around it. So I don't think that we'll ever fully beat it. I think that we can only temporarily solve for it, or at least that's what we should set our sights on first.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just better information, better knowledge about what those what's going on, and what isn't coordinating well, what isn't harmonizing well,
Right.
and then pushing back on it, but never fully casting the ring into the fires of Mount Doom. That makes sense. I guess maybe changing topics a little bit. Are there any particular things in the DeSci realm that you are hoping to see, or that you maybe you've already seen some of, and has got you really excited? What types of projects are you personally interested in funding?
Yeah. Um, let's see. I'm actually just realizing I have another call that's starting right now, so I do have to run, but maybe I could answer this one last one and then we'll go from there. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Cool. I mean, for me, climate change is the big one. I'm just like have a lot of existential dread about climate change, and so anything we can do around carbon capture or remediation, I think is a really big thing. I would love to see more work done around pandemic response. That's obviously something that's on everyone's mind these days. And during the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, there was actually like a COVID response round on Gitcoin. So I think that it's one of those things where it's just like an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And so, yeah, those are the ones that pop to mind for me. But there's probably lots of really great pluralistic decentralized science that I don't even know about. So I'm going to have to poke around the round and then ask me again after the round, and I'll probably have a much more full figured idea of what's possible.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks for joining us. Yeah, I hope to see more of you around in Moondao, and
Yeah.
yeah, we can tell your dad, tell your dad about Moondao. We'd love to have you here too.
Cool.
And yeah, thanks for spending some time with us.
Yeah. Sounds great. Thanks so much for having me. Peace and love.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Cool. Well, we've got some more time here, so I think if people want to jump up on stage and reflect on those ideas that Kevin left us with, and or generally just kind of share any of their thoughts on the topics that we discussed, feel free to request. Um, yeah, great. Got Rod and Lucas up here. And yeah, also just very briefly, I want to say we have one snapshot proposal that just recently passed for a digital asset marketplace. Shout out to Colin on that one. and then also this week we'll be seeing a couple other snapshot proposals. One for stewardship inside of Moondao, and then another for a change in the operating agreement that we have. So check those out on Snapshot if you're a Moondao member. Just want to briefly get that out of the way, and I'll pass it over to Rod. How's it going, Rod?
Thanks. Doing great. I want to say I really like the idea of Moloch. I'm like amazed by that idea, and all of my friends whom I met in real life, I think they already tired from hearing by. Like it's really so cool to. I think at Mundao we should add that type of a narrative, that type of story when we talk about space exploration. So add something like like add a soul, a face to what we are doing.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think yeah, we need a villain that we're trying to overcome for sure. And yeah, even yeah, that article that he mentioned, it's from I don't know if you're already familiar, but it's this famous blog that talks about meditations on Moloch, and yeah, I feel like it's something that really captures the imagination a bit. So yeah, I think Moloch is definitely a common enemy for a lot of the ETH and DAO space. So yeah, I think
Also,
we
I want to add. Oh, sorry. I want to add that I have a copy of Green Pill book. It licensed under Creative Commons license. So if you want to read it, feel free to reach me.
totally. We also have Lucas up here on stage. How's it going, Lucas? How you doing?
Hey guys, GM, I'm doing great. It was an awesome AMA this morning. I learned so much about a lot of concepts that were a little fuzzy in my mind, because sometimes in Web3 we just compartmentalize so much and we talk about a lot of stuff in different groups that sometimes I'm talking about a concept and I have an understanding of it, but the other person thinks in a different manner about it. So I think those kind of efforts of trying to explain each concept in different perspectives, it's just pretty cool. Yeah, also we're just right now launching our Zilli campaign for this DeSci round. So Zilli basically is a leaderboard for engagement, so everyone can collaborate supporting this Gitcoin DeSci round, spreading the word and earning Zilli points. And by the end of the round, we will be rewarding the top 3 users on Zilli on our leaderboard with some money prizes. So I will just ping right here on the spaces our Zilli link, and let's go. Let's make this an awesome round.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Lucas. Yeah. Get that sweet Mooney. Yeah, that's awesome. I think this is our first experiment with Zilli. So yeah, thanks for pioneering that, Lucas. Rod, I see your hand up, but I want to get to
Yeah.
Manuel.
Just a quick note.
Yeah.
We have a lot of great projects from Gitcoin. So once we deal with the Montao routine, let's make a Shilina session. Sorry for interruption.
Totally. But yeah, Manuel, how's it going? How you doing?
Hey guys, GM to everyone who just woke up. Yeah, everything's fine, and I think I really like the what Kevin told us about the green pill and about fighting Moloch and everything that is somehow trash in our current system. But yeah, I just want to share. I really like that we are going into the right direction now with a great signaling through the whole DeSci round, I would say. We are also organizing not only these great referral campaigns here, but also engaging like every meaningful ecosystem that is right now rapidly growing. like regenerative finance, decentralized science, and for sure also decentralized space. And yeah, in a couple of more minutes, also with Greenpill, I'm involved in building up the organizational infrastructure there as well for Germany with some friends of mine, and we are also doing like these chilling sessions to bring more awareness to this whole topic of regenerating our atmosphere, extracting carbon out of our atmosphere, and then hopefully for sure solve the climate crisis. So I just can underline that, yeah, the time is really running out for humanity to solve these issues. And I think that space tech and all the monitoring systems are playing a major role in solving these issues. So just, you know, shout out to everyone who believes in refi, believes in DeSci, and for sure DSpace. Keep going, guys. We're not alone anymore. And for sure, for this Gitcoin Battle Round, stay engaged, because we are right now also approving like all the projects in the pipeline that fall into the category of decentralized science. And then the Gitcoin Battle is officially starting by tomorrow. So heads up, guys.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Manuel. We're joined here by Web3 Beach. How's it going? I think that you're your first timer up here on the town hall. So yeah, it's great to meet you. How's it going?
It's going well, GM. Thank you so much for hosting this. What an informational space. I just want to give I guess my perspective on what you brought up that I thought was super important, the meming things. I recently saw a tweet that said that if you can't meme about it, you probably don't understand it. And I thought that was very true. Another really important part to that is that it's easier to get people's attention with a funny meme than it is, you know, with the 3-page blog or something like that, right? So it's really important to be able to add some humor to this and be able to just de-jargonize things with a meme, even if, for example, Owocki's memes are so freaking smart that I sometimes have to like research what he's talking about in the meme, and I'm going, okay, well, like that actually motivated me to go and do the research. Whereas if it would have just been a Twitter thread, I would have just skipped over it, right? So yeah, super important. I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, no, I mean he does it like he does it better than anyone I know, honestly. He's great at just like taking these like complex ideas and then like communicating them through like a meme. And just like regular graphics, like graphic communication, I think is super important, and I think something that Gitcoin does really, really well. But yeah, I mean, I think I love that that thing that you brought up. If you can't meme about it, then you don't understand it. It's kind of like the Albert Einstein. If you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, then you don't understand it. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that you know, and also at the same time, like I feel like the natural substrate of the internet is memes, and that if you can't speak the lingo, then you know you're not going to get very far. So um, yeah, totally agree. But yeah, I also want to get people's thoughts on kind of like the DeSci round so far. Maybe Manuel or I see Ron has his hand up. Yeah, any info that you can share from the DeSci round, and yeah, like where people should go to apply if they have a project, or yeah, like how things have been going so far, all of that.
Yeah, good
We
point. Yeah, sorry,
sorry,
Rod,
Manuel, I'll
continue,
raise.
please.
Yeah, I just want to say that we have quite a lot of space projects in that round, and that's actually amazing. I'm happy that we have a great company there. And despite space, I had no time to check, but I have a strong feeling that a lot of amazing projects with like global influence are there. So once the round begins, um, we should try to keep looking at those projects and trying to build relationships, because a lot of them has connections all over the world with the different universities, people, And also, I have to say that I feel in Gitcoin environments, it's like really amazing when you have a lot of spaces and you have to jump between these spaces. So it's really exciting.
Oh, thanks, Rod. Sorry, I clicked the thing twice. Manuel, I see you have your hand up too.
Sure. I just want to add, yeah, we got great space projects in our current round. Yeah, some of them were DeSci focused. Some, we needed to discuss, but it was really great to see also so many DeSci stewards engage in the convo. And yeah, we're gonna open up the round. I think the most important ones got through. And I think we got really killer people in here in our ecosystem, and we're collectively building this whole D-space ecosystem forward. So I really also like to shout out to Adam in here in the audience, because yesterday we had a small conversation because I came up with something that we had discussed a couple of months ago about funding public goods around space sustainability. And I wanted to clarify with him if this is really the case, and I can transfer this to our other DeSci stewards. And then we had a great conversation. What Space Rockstar is all about, and why it's important to fund public goods in space. And then I shared this also with other DeSci stewards, and everybody's really supportive right now in our whole ecosystem. So let's really focus on spreading the word, organizing as much events as possible, inviting great minds to our DSpace Friday sessions, either to Moondao events with a focus on space sustainability, to Deep Ventures event. Rod, I know you're also organizing great events, so I think we got a lot of potential to align everyone. And I would like to see our DSpace cornerstone events with Moondao as this single source of truth hub for everybody's DSpace. So yeah, sharing this.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Manuel. I think also, maybe we should try to define DSpace for people in the audience that are maybe hearing that term for the first time. I think it's a quite new term, but Manuel, yeah, maybe you can give us a stab at it first. Yeah, you can share for this.
Sure. Yeah, the thing is, everything related to DSpace is just using Web3 tools for creating a positive impact in the space industry, either in the traditional space industry, in the new space industry, or space sustainability. So every aspect that you can think about. And what we saw in the past in the field of DeSci and DSpace right now is that everybody's starting out with this, okay, we're gonna be the single source of truth, but then pretty quickly everybody's realizing that there's the first fragmentation in the industry field. So in DeSci, it's biotech, it's everything around space now as well. And we will also see the fragmentation based on the use cases and for sure the in-space applications. And I think now I missed the point because I'm with my head already in the next meeting that I'm also co-hosting and I'm preparing. But to define DSpace, it's really using Web3 for in-space applications. And to give you some examples, we saw that, for example, Filecoin is partnering up with Lockheed Martin. Filecoin is a storage provider in the Web3 sector, and they are partnering up with Lockheed Martin, one of the biggest space and defense companies worldwide, to actually not only build a communication system on the moon, but also data storage on the moon. And this is exactly DSpace. Same goes for Moondao. We are a community of like-minded people in this niche. Same goes for Rod, using Web3 funding also to build simulation tools and implementing other security systems with cryptography. And yeah, the definition is right now is really unclear. So this is really the reason why I'm also working on something called the DSpace Manifesto. I just had a chat also with famous authors in the space industry, also to get them involved in spreading our message to the world. Yeah. But yeah, everything's work in progress. And with this, I'm also inviting everyone in here who is like a DSpace OG, join us with this mission. message me. I'm gonna share the doc with you, put in everything that you think is meaningful for our ecosystem to further grow, and then let's get it done and show the world what we are capable of as an industry. So yeah, that's it in my own words, I would say.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Manuel. Yeah, well, very well said. Rod, I want to hear your thoughts too on what that term means to you.
Yeah, like exactly the same that Manuel said, but I'll try to make it shorter and simpler. Decide when a bunch of guys from the internet who are in crypto wants to go to space.
All right, yeah, I like that. I like your short version. Um, I think yeah, we're also joined here by Zenbit, and I want to give him the mic. But also, I quickly also want to give some thoughts on what DSpace means to me too. I think that like the overall trend that we see in a bunch of different technologies is that it goes from being maybe a government funded Department of Defense technology, kind of like the early internet, and over time it makes its way into the public. And I think right now that's sort of like the transition point that we're seeing with space. So the early days of the computer, early days of the internet, you had these massive mainframe computers that were incredibly expensive, and it was just something that your everyday person didn't really interact with much. And I think that space is sort of that, uh, or it has been that for many decades now, where these satellites are millions of dollars. Sending anything up into space is prohibitively expensive. But now, as we see the costs go down dramatically, I think that we're going to see everyday people start to interface and interact with space directly. And I think that that transition is going to be maybe one of the most wild transitions of our lifetimes, because it's going to give direct access for the everyday person to basically be able to like send stuff into space, and explore the cosmos and actually go to the moon and go to Mars. And I think it's going to be less people from government or a select few astronauts, but everyday people are going to start actually being able to explore the cosmos. So I think this is an incredibly exciting time to be alive. And yeah, I think that DSpace is sort of that ethos of making space accessible to the everyday person. But yeah, I think I want to hand it over to Zenbit as well. How's it going?
Hi guys, greetings from Mexico. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Cool. Well, I want to share my experience on the refi circles. I have been participated there, and I've been at the little research about the projects. I found some of the DeSci projects that are trying to generate important data and important projects about how to make more verifiable data about the public spaces. And I think there's an interesting insight that I found there. And I think something that we on the DeSci environment ecosystem, we can help to tackle this fragmentation is to start probably to make a process to collective R&D, to start sharing or the data and the processes that we are making to track information. And I think that's very important because what I found on the refi circles on my research, it's that there are many projects that are in a very early stage, and probably it's more concentrated in education and onboarding experiences. But I think we need to find a protocol or a way to help these projects to keep evolutioning in this process and keep probably integrating other protocols or expanding the modularity that data we are generating. So I think it's important to probably make this a starting point to map the DeSci projects and starting to understand what they are tracking, what what is the value that they are generating, and how we can integrate probably the different environments that we are tackling. So yeah, it's great to be here and great to hear other perspectives about this.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, I think I mean I'm super excited about all of the different tools that will enable scientists to coordinate and be able to replicate their findings better, and generally just being able to access what other people are working on. I think that those tools will help us coordinate science in a decentralized way, and I think that back in the day, you I think that science has seen kind of like this big centralization through a lot of these government funding channels, and I'm really excited to see science go back into the hands of sort of like your everyday person and everyday skeptic, everyday tinker, and then being able to share that data and work together without needing all of this like bureaucracy on top of it. I'm really excited for what that will bring to humanity generally, because I think that it's like we're retaking back science a little bit. I see Hacker Twins is joining us here too. I want to hear from you. How's it going? Can you hear us? Not sure if you're muted for us. I don't know if you can maybe you disconnected, or maybe I disconnected. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Rod. Well, yeah. While Hacker Twins is trying to figure that out. Yeah. I mean, I think that.
Oh, hey.
Oh, hey. How's it going?
Sorry, it just takes a minute. I'm an Android user, so it just takes a minute to connect.
Oh, I thought like I didn't know that Twitter Spaces worked on Android yet. That's new to me.
Yeah, I was just gonna have a question because like a pet project of mine is like a decentralized social media platform based on the scientific method. And DeSci kind of just like rings in my ears, and it feels like it's an awesome, I guess, like platform to launch projects, maybe something like that. Does anyone know like how the DeSci grants actually work from like a funding perspective? Like, are you beholden to DeSci at all, or like what's a partnership look like, or is it truly just a grant and it's just like, here's some money, go break some eggs?
Rod, go for it.
I'm a grantee. I received a grant around 1K Indonesian and 11K on GR15 in September. So it's basically really a grant. And but the thing is that it's not about money, it's about community and people that you are getting in touch. Like being on Gitcoin opens a way for you, for example, to get in touch with Owocki and with a lot of other great people. So I would highly encourage you to apply for Gitcoin DeSci round if you have a project. And library criteria are really simple, and this DeSci round is different. It's run by community, so we have like all people from DeSci, we have a group on Telegram. It's led by a guy from Gitcoin, but he is a previous grantee, and all the criteria are made by community. Basically, I've contributed to criteria's manual. He's a steward. He contributed, but as well as maybe 10 or 20 other people who are active on that group. So it's really a grant, but it's really different from everything that you know before. But you do not give anything back in exchange. It's all about community and working with community. So we can talk later and jump on a call if you are more interested.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I see it so many times, like people use Twitter a lot for communication, but Twitter's like really good for memes and shit posting. And I just like, I'm not sure if there's like a project or a space for people who are like just more interested in like meaningful and interesting conversations. Obviously memes are great and I love shit posting more than anyone else, but I just didn't know if like another platform existed or project.
Yeah, yeah. I think well, Kevin said this earlier, which is sort of like the medium is the message sometimes, and yeah, I think that our messages change a lot, whether you're on Twitter or on Discord or whatever. And yeah, I should also shout out that if you're interested in learning more about Moondao and want to join our community, everything that we do happens on Twitter, basically. We recently got the new like Twitter invite link, and now it's like discord.gg/moondao. So you can click on my profile and get that, or you can yeah. I think that's probably the easiest is just go to my profile. But anyways, yeah, I think if you'd like to learn more about Moondao, that's the best way. And then Discord has its own properties in terms of its medium, and it gets pretty chaotic there sometimes too. But yeah, we've hit the top of the hour, so maybe let's just some closing remarks, and we'll close up. I don't know if Rod or Web3 Beach or Zenbit, if you guys have anything else you want to share before we close up.
I think it's a good chance to organize the space for DeSci projects applying for the beta Gitcoin round. So probably to coordinate into the space and yeah, keep together all the projects on this field.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again. I've become really interested in DeSci since I believe it was a GR15 when it was on, and it's been a great opportunity for me to just learn more about what's happening. Right, this isn't exactly my sector of Web3, but I've realized how important it is. So I'm definitely willing to offer, whatever I can to help promote or help coordinate on behalf of the DeSci teams and see where we can draw support. Definitely up to hosting spaces on the Web3 Beach account and trying to reach out. And I've actually, while I was in ETH Tokyo, was thinking about ways that I can pitch funding DeSci on Gitcoin to a lot of the projects that are sponsoring there. So yeah, maybe we need to coordinate that a little bit better.
Totally. Rod, go for it.
I just want to shout out to Web3 Beach because he is quite active on the Gitcoin community.
Awesome. Well, yeah, Web3 Beach, hope to see you around more in the DeSci round, and then also at Moondao too. But yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining, and yeah, we'll close this one up. Have a good day.
Well,
Bye everyone.